in the National League, there's a lot of chaos and crazy stuff, and it's been fun. In the American League, the ALCS is going to be Astros and Yankees. We can skip everything else. Just get right to the gist of it. One's going to be the 1 seed, one's going to be the 2 seed, whatever works out. It's going to be Astros, Yankees in the ALCS. We can just pencil that in. We're good. Some crappy team's going to be the 3 seed in the AL Central. Someone's going to win the AL Central. They're going to be the 3 seed. They won't matter at all. They'll lose to one of those AL East teams in the now wild card game, because in case you may have forgotten from the last time we talked about baseball during the lockout, there are 6 playoff teams now, which means that if you're the 3 seed, which is basically the NL Central and AL Central, you have to play in the first round now, which is good because we get them out of the playoffs faster from those 2 crappy divisions. Actually,
are you sure? Are you sure, Kyle? You have underrated an Ohio team just in this past calendar year. Are you sure the Cleveland Guardians aren't going to be this year's Cincinnati Bengals for you?
Fairly confident. Although in fairness, Minnesota is winning the division right now. So I shouldn't count out Minnesota. They've been pretty good this year.
It is actually officially a tie, as the Guardians have went 8-2 in their last 10 games.
Oh, well, there you go. Good on Cleveland. Anyways, so one of them is going to be the 3 seed. It won't matter. It's going to be Astros, Yankees. The Yankees are totally overwhelming. I'm secondhand sourcing this, so I don't have it in front of me. Someone said that the Yankees pitching staff has a lower whip as a whole than Mariano Rivera during a Yankees World Series championship season had a whip. It's absolutely insane how good that pitching staff is for the Yankees this year.
Yeah, Garrett Cole was damn near unhittable his last start. He was looking phenomenal. He was finally looking like the Garrett Cole that got paid over $30 million a year to go pitch for the New York Yankees. And I guess the next question for the Yankees, obviously, and Garrett Cole, is going to mostly come down to how does he pitch in the big time moments, the big time games, because that's where he's been the most disappointing for them since signing that contract. It's funny. We also have in the National League, you mentioned the National League is a little bit more open, but a New York team dominating there, Steve Cohen, he did elevate the Mets to at least through June 22nd of 2022. They are the first place team in the NL East. But watch out for the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves, I believe they won 16 of their last 19 games, something insane like that. They've been red hot. What is it about this Atlanta team that it just seems like, they flipped the switch at this point of the year?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I also think Atlanta will overtake the Mets at some point. I could be wrong about that. It feels like
Mets.
It's not pessimism for the Mets, because the Mets are going to make the playoffs. Like, it's almost a guarantee that the Mets are going to make the playoffs this year. So that's a step up for New York, especially because they spent so much money last year and it all kind of like imploded on them in August. So they're going to they're not going to be the 6th seed either. They're going to make the playoffs either probably as the 5 seed if that's the case, because I think the Padres are probably going to be the 4 seed behind the Dodgers. I could be wrong about that. Padres have let me down before. It just feels like it's going to be the National League playoff feels like it's going to be Dodgers, Padres, Mets, Braves, one of the NL Central teams, and then a 6th wild card that will probably beat the NL Central team.
Watch out. If you're starting to hear footsteps, that seems to be the San Francisco Giants, which are just 3.5 games behind the Padres currently in the NL West, actually 3.5 games behind the Dodgers as well, as it currently constructs today. As again, you have an NL West team, the 3rd place team in that division is 9 games over 500. So it is aside from the Diamondbacks and Rockies, the NL West just continues to be the division of hell.
Yeah. So what's interesting about the National League this year is that like 7 teams are actively tanking. So there's only 8 teams that actually have a chance of making the playoffs this year. I feel confident Philadelphia is not going to get in the playoffs, but I could be wrong. Philadelphia is making a little charge back.
I would say the difference in the NL West is that the Diamondbacks and Rockies aren't as much of pushovers as they were last year. I think the Dodgers and Giants respectively had like 800 winning percentages against both teams and were able to pick them apart. Now that has kind of changed a little bit, because earlier in the year, they were at least competing strong. They've fallen off since, obviously, Diamondbacks 6 games under 500, the Rockies 8 games under 500. So they are not nearly at the ilk they were in April, but they are one of those teams that just can annoyingly steal a victory from you. And certainly as a Padres fan, all about kind of like those annoying losses throughout the season. That it's like, really, Really? We lost
Yeah.
the Reds. The Giants have had a few of those, though. In fairness, it's just so weird to look at NL All-Star ballot and not see Buster Posey just sharpied into the catcher position.
But instead it's Yadier Molina, right? Yadier Molina is the guy who's always penciled in as catcher.
It's Contreras this year. You're at okay.
Yeah.
No. It was
I'm saying
like a flip-flop.
I'm saying it's either
Yachty,
Posey or Molina.
Yachty Buster. That's pretty much how the NL ballot has been for the last 10 years at catcher. Now you got Contreras who's leading it. Yeah, we're going to just flip it back and forth on this conversation. I mean, the AL and the Yankees are so good. I've fallen in love with this team so many times over the last couple of years and put a lot of faith in them over the last couple of years. I'm not a Yankees fan, obviously, but I still have some loyalties to this, some loyalties from my dad and my grandpa who were Yankees fans and would always bitch about Brett Gardner, and that's not Yankee baseball. He doesn't hit any home runs, or Derek Jeter's not hitting enough home runs. My grandpa actually once was, get me Nomar Garciaparra instead Derek Jeter. That's my grandpa there.
Yeah, that did not age well. That's
one of those old takes exposed. I got to put him on blast on a little bit on that. Love the old man though. I just want to point out another story from the AL. Just tuning into it, even from a casual perspective, it was hard to miss the Angels' extended losing streak. And a funny headline there that Joe Madden literally got his head shaved into a mohawk, only to get fired that same day.
It's so great. By the way, Mike Trout, I mean, we talked about Cleveland and Jose Ramirez has like an over 1,000 OPS this year. Mike Trout's probably going to win MVP again in the American League. I called him old man last year because I saw he turned 30 and he turns 31 in like a week. And I'm like, oh my God, Mike Trout's old guy now.
I told you to pump the brakes on burying Mike Trout because he just had 1 year where he just couldn't stay healthy. A lot of players have had that 1 year where they just couldn't stay healthy. It didn't mean he was done. I mean, he's still good.
He's going to win MVP. So crazy.
He had like a couple week stretch there, and that was certainly during the Angels losing streak where it did seem like, okay, he's starting to fall off a little bit. But now in that, you look at that Mariners series where he hit like 4 or 5 home runs, and Mike Trout's back. Mike Trout is just damn good at baseball. Talk about the best.
Mike Trout's having the 3rd best season of his career, and he's won 3 MVPs. It's incredible how good at baseball Mike Trout is. And Mike Trout already has a 4 WAR this year.
Not a single playoff victory. Angels, I hate you so much. I really do. I really do. I really hate the Los Angeles Angels so damn much because I have seen Mike Trout play baseball throughout his entire career, and it's been phenomenal. He's been great. He's been fun to watch. The homers, the stills, playing Gold Glove center field. 5-tool player. The first genuine 5-tool player that I've got to see start to finish because Barry Bonds was a 5-tool player, but I didn't get to see like prime Bonds. I got to see him when he wasn't much of a fielder. He didn't have the base stealing speed that he once had. No, Mike Trout, I've got to see the entirety of his career, and that entire career he's been a 5-tool player, and that has resulted in 0 playoff victories because of the incompetence of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, whether it be a Josh Hamilton deal, whether it be a CJ Wilson deal, whether it be Noah Syndergaard this year. They just don't know how to put together a pitching staff to save their life. Their best pitcher is their 2nd best hitter. That's how annoying it is to watch the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. That's how disappointing they are.
They ruined a generational star once and they're about to do it twice. It's the most amazing thing ever in sports.
You know what would be the true troll move by them? Watch their first good season. Their first turnaround season is going to be with both of those guys off their roster somehow. It's going to be all of the Nationals from a couple of years ago when Bryce Harper left and they ended up winning a championship. We're going to see them have their best playoff success, and it's going to make 0 sense because how can you not win when you have a guy that's just consistently batting over 300, hitting 30 plus home runs in your lineup? I just don't understand sometimes how baseball works in that sense that you could have that guy in your lineup, not win games, that guy leaves, and suddenly you're winning games. I mean, I know there's the mental aspect, there's the intangible aspect, but that's just insane to me how sometimes that works. Like we talked about the Guardians. The Guardians weren't even supposed to be at this point in the season. Like they're just hanging around, and that makes no sense. But yet they might win the division. I still have a little faith in the White Sox. I still like the White Sox roster better, and they're only 3.5 games back. I know that they've had their Kerfuffles. Tim Anderson went on the IL a couple weeks ago, and he's starting to get back and healthy. They have Lance Lynn barely coming back and starting to get healthy. So Liam Hendricks is on the IL for them. So the White Sox have to get healthy first, but 3.5 games back in June is not a bad place to be if you're the White Sox, because the Guardians to play well through 3 months is a surprise. So they can jump them. And then the Twins being also tied at the top of that division. The Twins did go out there and make the moves during the offseason to try and compete. Although Carlos Correa, because he's one to do, got hurt. Carlos Correa has dealt with injuries this year. So you look kind of how these teams are built. The White Sox, I still think, are in a good position. I think let's talk about some disappointments too, aside from the Angels, who are disappointing just because everything about them. My Mariners winning the AL West has not aged well. And I do want to call myself out on this one. 13 games back of the Astros. I thought the Astros were going to fall off. And it just turns out, you talk about well-run organizations, Astros are good. They continue to be good.
No, sirree, Bob. The Houston Astros will never die. You're going to have the Houston Astros to take them down.
Yeah, I mean, hey, at one point, the Mariners had a worse record than the Oakland A's that are actively trying to be bad. When for the Mariners to have a worse record than the A's at one point during the season, I thought was oh shit, my pick of the Mariners to win this division is one of the worst picks I will make in the entirety of this podcast, whether it be the NFL, NBA, or MLB. That is one that I will have to eat that L. I'm firmly eating that L. That L, I might as well put one like on the back stand here, the shelf, and that's going to have the Seattle Mariners etched in pen on it.
Yeah, that one's pretty bad. I'm glad that you did serious American League Central analysis, because all I say about the American League Central is the American League Central is a pyramid scheme that exists only to steal millions of dollars from the American public.
Let me also hammer on the Tigers while I'm at it then. The Tigers have just been gross this year. They have been shut out like 9 times, 10 times throughout the year. They just can't get anything going, and their Screwball has at least been good. So they've at least got a little bit from like their rotation. But oh my God, the young guys aren't producing. And Javi Baez, their big free agent acquisition, batting under 200 last I checked. In fact, not even batting. Sometimes he's getting outright benched by his manager. AJ Hinch, he says, I can't play this guy. I can't play this guy and win games. This guy you paid over $100 million to acquire.
Think about this one also, because I'm jumping backwards a couple points to what you said. Mike Trout's going to have a 16-year career with the Anaheim Angels. And during those 16 years, they're going to pivot seamlessly from $30 million a year for 9 years for Albert Pujols into $36 million a year for 7 years for Anthony Rendon. Anthony Rendon has 4 years and $135 million left on his contract. He's already out for this season. He missed 2/3 of last season. During the bubble or during the pandemic season in 2020, he was actually like one of the MVP frontrunners during the 60-game season. But Anthony Rendon is the worst contract in Major League Baseball, worse than Javi Baez. And the Angels just pivoted seamlessly from Pujols right into Rendon.
Like how do they do this? It almost feels like a black magic that the Angels have. Like we've all seen the movie, The Angels in the Outfield. They got some serious demons in that organization. They just drag players' careers down through the depths of hell whenever they go out there. That's the only way I can explain it. And in fact, I would say playing for the Angels is like living in baseball hell. That's what I would describe it as, because
no. Baseball hell is Pittsburgh. Baseball hell is Pittsburgh.
See, there was a couple years there though of sunshine when it came to the Pittsburgh Pirates. And what you would say about them, they have the #1 rated, and some people go back and forth on this, the #1 rated ballpark in America. So that's something. That's something for them. The Angels have an ugly ballpark. They have a limited fans. They're little brother to the Dodgers. They sign bad contracts. They have no rotation. They've been bad for like 20 years. Even when they do win a championship like they did in 2002, it goes so far under the radar that most people can't even remember the Angels as a championship team. I think whenever I think about the Angels, no, they are hell, because the fact that a player like Mike Trout can be as good as he is, can be as phenomenal as he is, and never advance, it's like purgatory. It's like being on a treadmill. And when we talk about those ironic punishments that they give people in hell, right? You know, oh, you were a glutton in life, so you're just going to eat donuts for the rest of your life type punishments. That's what the Angels are. You can play as good as possible. You can play to the level of prime Willie Mays, and you will never win a playoff game. Tell me that isn't hell, Kyle. Tell me that is not hell.
It's one of those like classic deal with the devil situations where you get the greatest baseball player in the history of baseball and you get the modern Babe Ruth, and you will never be able to make the playoffs.
It's a monkey paw. It is legitimately a monkey paw scenario if you are an Angels fan. And the fact there are Angels fans, God bless you guys. God bless you for sitting in that stadium, sitting in that ugly stadium. I'm just going to say it.
It's not ugly. I don't know where this is coming from. It's not ugly. It's a nice stadium.
It has the personality with the Rocks, but it's a relatively ugly stadium compared to the rest of the league.
I don't understand. Where is this coming from? It's a nice stadium.
You know what? Anaheim we are hammering on the Angels. We are making a point to tell the Angels their organization is bare booty ass cheeks. And this is where I tell them your stadium's bare booty ass cheeks, your pitching rotation is, your management is, your scouting is. The only thing that's not is Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, and that you are ruining them. You are ruining it for us.
And that fans. 1 year of Justin Upton. They had that 1 year of Justin Upton too.
Here's what I'm hoping. You mentioned the Pirates. You mentioned the Pirates being a similar comp for baseball hell. Mike Trout, he needs to have like that Barry Bonds moment in his career where he leaves to another organization and has success somewhere else. So same for Shohei Ohtani. Like, I'm still disappointed Shohei Ohtani even picked the Angels. He's like,
Ohtani can leave also after next season, which is a whole fascinating thing.
But the fact that, he had the pick of the world, the pick of the litter when he was coming out of Japan, and he chose the Angels. Have you not watched this organization? I know they could spend, and kudos to them for being an organization that at least wants to be aggressive and spend. Like, I will give them that, right? Because they are doing the right thing in a way. If your organization's mid, they're bad. So let's spend our way out of it, right? We talk about how money can fix problems. Money can like bury problems and add solutions. It's just odd that they can make so many bad financial decisions for what players we thought were stars. Again, Josh Hamilton in a vacuum isn't a bad player to pursue. Albert Pujols, coming off all the success in St. Louis, isn't a bad player to pursue. But as soon as they get to your organization, they just nosedive hard. That is so beyond the peril. That is so.
Zach Cozart, Ian Kinsler, you can keep going down this list. There's a lot of them that this has happened to.
Baseball hell.